You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. Our headlines: hundreds of first-time voters were unable to register on the first day of the limited registration exercise due to software malfunction, faulty equipment and power outages at registration centers nationwide. We'll hear from the Electoral Commissioner.
We want them to have the code so they can activate earlier than the period. When the time came that we sent it through them, then they were having difficulty in activating the system.
On the legal front, High Court judge aims to conclude minority leaders' trial by July after missing May deadline. Also, family of murdered 11-year-old frustrated by delayed judgment.
The case judgment will be delivered today, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. We are so much disappointed, especially the mother and the father.
We are grateful for your time here on Joy News Prime. Now, the Deputy Commissioner in charge of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kweko, has explained that the initial nationwide glitch that characterized the limited voter registration exercise was caused by challenges with the activation code issued to registration officers and internet connectivity problems. We'll hear from him shortly. First, let's bring you up to speed with what happened in some parts of the country. We'll begin from the Ashanti region, where police arrested a nursing mother at Asokore Mampo in the Ashanti region for allegedly attempting double registration at the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. My colleague Nana Boachi Iyadom has a wrap of the first day of the registration exercise in the Ashanti region.
The first day of the limited voter registration exercise was characterized by several challenges, including internet and technical hitches affecting the process in various districts of the Ashanti region. Applicants who participated in the registration exercise were unable to go through the process. This halted the exercise for hours, leaving some party agents and applicants worried.
How's the process been?
Well, for me, when I got here, it's been 2 hours now. And well, when I got here, they said the network is unstable, so we are looking out for the network to be stable for us to be able to do it and go home, because we're standing here and the sun too is very hot here. So we are just expecting it for the network to be stable for us to do it and then go.
Our concern is a lot. Today is the day we are starting with the registration, and we have mobilized those kids from DRC, estate, everywhere. And we are here till date. Nobody is telling us anything. And the registration is not yet started. And we don't know. So that's why I came to go and ask them what is going on. Because when we asked them, and they said they are waiting a feed from Accra. What kind of feed?
Former Kumasi Mayor Kojo Bonsu visited some districts on behalf of the NDC.
If you go to Inshaesu, there's a place. This is Inshaesu in a way. So I don't understand why Electoral Commission has put all these constituencies together to register here. It encourages a lot of things because the parties don't have money, and the young people who this time is their first time in voting would have to commute, move from one place to another to go and register. It's not worth it. So you're encouraging the parties to bus people, and it can create a problem. So please, Electoral Commission, listen to what I'm saying in good faith.
At the Asokore Mampo EC office, a nursing mother was arrested for allegedly attempting double registration. The lady is currently in police custody for further investigation. The police spoke about working to provide total security.
Supposed to perform his duty. If there are any complaints about the registration, please, the EC must handle that. We are here to support you in terms of security.
Meanwhile, Ashanti Regional EC boss Benjamin Banobio says it is ready to work professionally to ensure qualified applicants are registered.
Our message to applicants is that we are here to serve and we are poised to deliver. We will work professionally to ensure that all those who are qualified to be registered are registered. Please do come early so that we can serve you on time. We have what we call special dispensation for some categories of people. The students one is aside, We have that one for the elderly, pregnant women, lactating women or mothers, and then the puberties. When they come, they will not join the main queue. We will let them form their own queue, and then we will attend to them with dispatch. Every district has more than one kit at the district office, and we are going to work to ensure that we satisfy our clients.
For Joy News, Nana Boachedan Kwayadom, Kumasi.
Now, still in the Ashanti region, some first-time voters are urging their peers to get interested in the ongoing limited voter registration exercise and fulfill their civic responsibility. Nana Aljima has more in the following report.
The Electoral Commission is anticipating the participation of over 851,000 first-time voters in the upcoming general election. The figure remains significant since around 17,000 votes determined the outcome of the 2020 general election. To the group of first-time voters who also tag themselves free SHS beneficiaries, their right to participation in the elections should not be underrated. To them, there is need to choose a leader to sustain the free SHS policy, which has positively impacted lives.
2020, we saw what those who completed in 2018 and in 2019, the ordeal that they went through. It got to a time they were sacked from exams halls because they were owing school fees. I didn't encounter that ordeal, courtesy of the free senior high school policy. There was a time where they were denied entry into dining halls because of fees that they were owing. There were times they had to exhibit a chit, a green chit, to signify that they had paid their fees in full. It got to a time they had to exhibit or show a yellow chit before they were given access to the dining hall to signify that part of their fees had been paid. But I never encountered, even though I witnessed it, but I never encountered such an ordeal. It is all courtesy of the free senior high school policy.
Meanwhile, there were reports of disagreement in the Owusu Central constituency. A host of AM show, Sweetie Aboche, report.
We are here at the Owusu Central constituency for the limited voter registration exercise, and what you saw on your screens in a bit was an altercation, and one of the people involved explaining that this man I'm standing here with, a security personnel, got involved in some sort of arrangement which brought about the brouhaha. But we want to hear the story from his own mouth as he tells it. Thank you for speaking to us. Exactly what happened that resulted in that fight we saw?
Yeah, we're standing at Owusu Central. The guys that were supposed to arrange for them to come and get their polling station numbers and the rest. So the guy there was one media guy, TV3, he came, he was captured. He said, so one guy was talking to him that, it seems you captured it, not that way they were doing some kululu or something like that. That's not the case. But the other guy that came by said, let him do his work. He said, from day one, nobody stopped him from working because media, we are with you. So you have the right to do whatever that you're working because media, we are with you. So you have the right to do whatever that you're supposed to do. So the guy captured. So along the way, he started, there was one girl, he went and pulled her hair. And I said, what kind of sort is this? What is it? Already you were here that we talk about it. So I don't see the reason why, as a lady, you being a man, you should go and just pull her hair. So that let me intervene.
The guy who is having problem with the other guy is a security personnel who is from Alaju, which I know him is a police officer. Taking people in to register, in and out. He's trying to cross the queue.
So the police officer is the one taking people in and out?
In and out. So he's the one who wear the orange color or the red t-shirt. So you can see him holding a goat tie and other things. Because I saw him, I was asking, why is he doing this way? So, and I saw that maybe what is happening is the XYZ, they are trying to record what is happening. So, and I heard him saying that maybe he should stop recording. So the other guy was telling him that no, he is doing his job. As a media personnel, they are here to take cover what went wrong, what went right. So he has a right to cover it. They say no, they will not allow him to do the recording. So
Now, the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Aasu Central, has blamed the technical challenges on poor internet connectivity and challenges with transferring verification codes to registration officers across the country. He refuted claims that the EC deliberately orchestrated a scheme in order to disenfranchise voters in certain areas.
There are a lot of security measures that have been put in place to avoid people misusing the system. So normally when we have the activation code, we don't give it to them a day before because of the possibility of somebody doing something onto it. So we do give them the dawn of their registration. So that when they go to the registration center, they will activate biometrically an activation code and they will do the start of day so that people can now start tracking. Because start of day will indicate whether somebody is already in the register or on the machine. So that when you finish the day, every day you have start of day and end of day. So with the 21 days that we are doing this registration, any agent who wants to track can put the 21 end of day records, because the end of day will indicate everybody who has been registered, the time and the particulars of that person. So if you put them together, that gives you the register for the period. So because we did not want them to have the code so they can activate earlier than the period, when the time came that we sent it through them, then they were having difficulty in activating the system. And after that, because we're doing online at our offices, I don't know whether it is a pressure of the data flow, whatever, they had a stage back created, but as of now, I'm told that all the centers were activated around 12 o'clock. I received a letter, message from Voter Region and Center Region. Voter Region has 18 registration centers and Center has 22. Before I came here, they all sent a message that they are working. So now I will say we are almost done.
Now, the NDC's running mate, Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, says the biggest problem facing the country now is unemployment. The former education minister, who was speaking at a symposium on the economic benefit of the NDC's 24-hour economy policy, said the policy will reduce or drastically reduce unemployment, particularly among the youth. She urged Ghanaians to back the initiative, which she says will benefit all.
For us in the NDC, our biggest focus, our biggest worry, our biggest priority is the fact that we have unemployment in this country, and it is very high. So what do? So the market is being shut, so you don't have money, so you can't borrow. So, so what do? What you do, we think, is what it is that we are going to talk about, which is about using what you have, however small, and making it big. So what really is working? How is it working? How can you make it better? How can it benefit as many of your people as possible? If you have even a few jobs that are running, and they are running one shift, how can you make it two? How can you employ a few more people than you do now?
Now, former Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Service, COP Bright Odro, retired, also indicated that the NDC's 24-hour economy will require 25,000 additional police officers to ensure optimum security when the policy is implemented. The former senior police officer noted that the current police population of a little over 40,000 is not enough to protect Ghanaians in such an economy. Now, COP Odro said the current police to citizen ratio of 1 to 800 can be reduced to 1 to 500 if such additions are done.
We will require massive recruitment effort that will potentially bring the police population ratio, which is now about 1 to 800, one policeman to 800 citizens, to 1 to 500, or even better. Even better, I mean 1 to 400, 1 to 300, better. An additional massive recruitment of about 25,000 police personnel will be needed to top up the present police strength of about 42,000 and to make up the UN minimum ratio of 1 to 500. So the UN minimum ratio of police to population is 1 to 500. And if the police population is about 42,000, we will need to make about 67,000 police officers. And that means we have to recruit 25,000 officers to be able to police every corner of Ghana and make sure that the policy runs successfully. What about logistics? Police logistical base has to improve. And therefore, we are talking about vehicles, we are talking about communication equipment, we are talking about arms and ammunition, even though most of us fear weapons. But that is the only way the police can also do their part.
Meanwhile, the party's communications officer, Sammy Yeboah, expressed his disappointment in the NPP's flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia's alleged opposition to the policy, claiming that the vice president benefited from the policy while studying in Canada, where he went to school during the day and worked during the night.
Somebody says this is a bad idea. And we are talking about the man who has been the biggest beneficiary of the 24-hour economy. I'm talking about a man who said this is a bad idea. Because when he was schooling for his PhD at the Simon Fraser University in Canada, he was schooling during the day and working in the night because there is a 24-hour economy in Vancouver, Canada. Today, you, Bawumia, you've benefited from 24-hour economy. And you're telling young people who stand to benefit in Ghana that is a bad idea. Choboy. Then you listen to some of them, they say, oh, it is not new. It is already being implemented. So, which is which?
Now, in today's Filth Exhibition series, we paint a picture of what Accra looks like after a heavy downpour. The 2-hour downpour on Monday once again exposed how the country's capital has been engulfed with filth. Rejoice Semefa Kwesu takes us to the Kwame Nkrumah Circle and Asylum Down, a suburb of Accra, for our Filth Exhibition series.
The heavens opened up, bringing forth nature's blessings upon the metropolis, cleansing the air and most importantly reducing the heat. But amidst the raindrops was an unsettling scene. Mud, polythene bags, plastics, and food leftovers, exposing how filthy the country's capital is.
Normally, this is what we go through when it rains. You really find it difficult to even go to work.
Foster, who lives in Asylum Down, narrates the real challenge he was confronted with, having had to move around the neighborhood.
This morning, whilst I was going to work, I have to use the other side of the road because this place was flooded. I mean, even the cars, they were not able to use this lane that you see them using now. They were all using the overhead. There's a gutter just behind this building, and that's where the flood comes from, and that's where all this rubbish are coming from. So normally, it is the rubbish that's gathered here that makes the water not to flow. So what we are asking of is the environmental protection people to come and make sure all the gutters are clean and are free so that the water can pass through it whenever it rains.
Gazi wasn't shocked. He said this mess was the least expected.
Beside from where you stand with me here, Fold, up to Accra stand there, over here the coast too, the same thing. It download whenever the water value on the compound in the area, and the area is somewhere the coast water cannot pass. It always divert from both our yard here and dilute from the street both to the center zone here. It always flow somewhere the coast at Kaneshi Street here. When it flow and come to this center, it will flow enter here. Because this is the consumption road to Aveno. All the coast here is the same as you met here.
But in the moment of reckoning lies an opportunity for transformation. A chance to rebuild not just the physical infrastructure, but the collective spirit of a city striving to claim the title of cleanliness and sustainability in Africa. Semefa Kwesu's report read to you.
Let's connect to the Kenya's capital now, where President Ruto has pledged a total of $7.5 million emergency financial aid to households affected by floods in Nairobi. He said his affordable housing project will end such flooding-related displacement in future, as the government plans to complete construction of flood-affected schools before they reopen. As heavy rains and floods continue in the East African country, the Kenyan authorities say the death toll is rising and currently above 200. Let's connect to Nairobi now to speak to Zainab Wandati. She is the sustainability editor at the Nation Media Group in Kenya. Zainab, thank you so much for your time. First of all, what is the latest regarding this flood in Kenya?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to join here. Nairobi has borne the brunt of flooding. Previous years, whenever it flooded, the flooding would be mostly around the northern parts of the country and maybe parts of the coast. But this time around, the heavier rain is being experienced in Nairobi. So the impacts of the drought are being felt in the capital itself, with more than 60,000 people within the capital already displaced. And the death toll countrywide is at almost 230, which is pretty much the highest we've had in any flood in history. And in fact, this El Nino season is being compared to the 1961 El Nino that the country suffered, and has even surpassed the 1997 El Nino, which was said to be the worst. So we are still sifting through the impacts. Already the rains have kind of subsided within the city, but the weather forecast says that Mombasa, parts of the coast and parts of Western Kenya is now where the heavy rain will be moving to, as the city now begins to rest a bit. So over the last few days, we haven't seen as much rain, but families are have still been displaced. There's still parts of the city that are in water. And in fact, for the very first time in a long time, we are seeing even the affluent neighborhoods being submerged in water, because usually whenever it floods, you hear the flooding in the slum areas of the city. But this time around, even the UN headquarters itself, part of it is already underwater. And some of those rich people neighborhoods, if you might call it that, in those areas of the UN headquarters are underwater. So
which means this flood is not limited to the slum area. But we do know that the president of the country, Rutos, actually announced some $7.5 million package for people in slum areas. How have they been reacting to this announcement?
Yes, he did announce that at least 40,000 people were targeted with this aid, and they received an equivalent of 10,000 shillings per household for the 40,000 households that had been identified. However, we did send a team out today in some of the worst hit parts of the country, of the city, particularly the slum areas of Mathare, to talk to the people just to get a feel. Have they gotten this money? What do they intend to do with it? How are they identified? How is the disbursement being done? And we're still yet to find someone who can actually say that they've gotten that money. So we are still trying to find these people so that we can ascertain if this money has indeed reached these people. Because the kind of aid that they need shelter, they need clothing, they also need food. And right now, schools have already been closed. So some schools that have not been submerged are water being used as those rescue centers. And these are entire families having to be crammed in such small spaces. So even if you give them 10,000 shillings, really, what can they do with that money? That's very little money in an economy where the cost of living is high. That's money that maybe the most they could do is just buy a few clothing items and food to last them just a few days.
Okay. All right. So we also know that this is not the first time this is happening in Kenya. You did mention that you've had a series of this happening. Now, what measures are the authorities taking to ensure that this does not recur in terms of planning, in terms of policy? Currently, what is going on?
Over the last few days, the government has started some demolitions along the rivers, led by the Interior Ministry, targeting communities that live along the rivers. This is majorly the Nairobi River and its tributaries of Mathare River and the Ngong River and also the Karura River, all of it just being Nairobi River, feeding into the Nairobi River. So the government had started demolitions of communities that live along these areas. However, again, we sent a team out today to go check out the states of this demolition. And one thing we found is that this demolition is only being targeted at the poor communities that live along these rivers. And these are the poor communities along the slums, because this river not only cuts through the cities, but literally cuts through those slums as well. So when it flooded, all those homes along the rivers in those slum areas are what was swept away. So those bulldozers that are doing the demolitions are in these slum areas. We went to the affluent neighborhoods that literally share whose walls are literally next to the rivers. No such thing was happening. So we are still yet to see the government commitment to actually take decisive steps, because one of the greatest challenges that Nairobi faces is drainage. Our drainage is not very good. And one of the reasons our drainage is not very good is because we have unplanned and haphazard construction. We don't really put attention to ensure that the rules have been met, that everybody who's putting up a construction has put in place a proper drainage facility, or that if you're building next to a river, you're at least 30 meters away. So once this season is out, because this is an El Nino season, once it's out, then we'll see if now the government will regroup and start to work towards a proper plan for the city. However, if I should mention, my Mahiu just happened last week, this disaster in my Mahiu in the Rift Valley that killed more than 60 people. Already they've identified another location that's likely to lead to a similar disaster that was identified earlier today. And so the government has started forceful evictions from that area so that this doesn't happen again. But the problem with the Rift Valley is that it has a lot of tectonic shifts. So a lot of the flooding or that happens in such areas is largely driven by the activity that's happening underground more than above ground.
All right. Thank you so much, Zainab. We are grateful for your time, for all the updates. And that's Zainab talking to us all the way from Nairobi regarding the flood in that country. But let's now take you to Nigeria, where the call for the release of investigative journalist Daniel Ojukwu from detention is gathering momentum, with opposition figures, human rights groups and civil society organizations all advocating for his immediate release. Now, Ojukwu has been held by the Nigeria authorities in Lagos since last Wednesday, allegedly for breaching the country's cybercrime laws. Now, while confirming Ojukwu's detention, the Nigerian police have mentioned that he is under investigation in response to a filed petition. However, the identity of the petitioner remains undisclosed. Notably, human rights groups, including Amnesty International, are echoing calls for Ojukwu's swift release. And so, let's now take you to Nigeria to delve deeper into this unfolding situation. Now, joining us via Zoom from Lagos is Fisayo Soyombo, the founder of the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, where Ojukwu works. Thank you so much for joining us here on Joy News. Tell us, could you provide with the latest update on Daniel Ojukwu's detention? What is the latest?
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, you said the identity of the petitioner is not known. Well, the identity of the petitioner is known. The petitioner is a senior advocate of Nigeria by the name Muyiz Banire, who incidentally has a group that says it is striving to help Nigerians, enjoy the benefits of their rights, push for a better society, stuff like that. And then written on behalf of, this special advisor or assistant to the president on SDGs.
Okay.
So
we know the petitioner as we stand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two people. The person who wrote the petition and the one who is unhappy with the story. But again, it's not Daniel Ojukwu's fault that 147.1 million naira was released for a project.
Okay.
The site of the project does not have the project. The building does not exist there. The company that was listed on the website of the Corporate Affairs Commission of Nigeria, the address turns out to be the address of a restaurant. It's not Daniel's fault. It's not the fault of FIJ. That's the address. It's not our fault that the phone number that was called, the person who answered the call did not even know anything about the contract. It's not our fault that they are then running around to say, the contract was relocated to another location because they found out that the soil where they were going to site it could not hold it. How do you give out a 147.1 million naira contract and you didn't do initial checks to be sure that the soil could hold it? The contract they are claiming exists is far away from where the original project was supposed to be cited. And all that is not our fault.
Okay.
But simply because there is a petition to the police, the Nigeria police force then thought the best thing to do was to abduct the journalist, because it was not an arrest, it was an abduction, keep him incommunicado, deny him access to lawyers, and then hold him for no reason. Tomorrow we'll make it 1 week. For no reason, just for doing his legitimate job.
All right, so let's look at this detention that you talked about. We do know that Nigeria's press freedom ranking is somewhere around 112 out of 180 countries. Situations like this, what impact do you think it's going to have on the press freedom rankings of Nigeria?
First of all, I'm surprised that Nigeria ranks only 112. It is much worse than that. I expect Nigeria to be further down that ladder. I mean, the information minister said it on Press Freedom Day, May 3rd, that no journalist had been, arrested in the life of the current administration. Less than 1 year old life. Meanwhile, at least 11 journalists have been arrested in a civilian dispensation. And I keep saying what we have in Nigeria is a pretend democracy. It's not democratic. Unfortunately, it's a government led by people who supposedly fought the military regime, when they were much younger. So it's a shame and it's a sham.
All right.
What is supposed to be democracy and press freedom in Nigeria? Non-existent.
Okay, so let's look at calls by Amnesty International. We do know that political parties and civil society organizations are all making this call for Ojukwu's release. What can the Journalists Association in Nigeria do under the laws of Nigeria to ensure that Ojukwu is released within the shortest possible time?
The Journalists Association of Nigeria, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, I don't know if they understand that the police right now are a law unto themselves. They decide when to abduct, when to arrest, when to give out bail conditions, when to arraign, whether to release. They can flout a court order if they want to. The current set by the auguries don't show that they are going to respect any court order. So I don't think it is in the control of the Journalists Association.
Okay.
If the police and powers superior to the police want to release Daniel Ojukwu, they can do it in a flash.
Okay.
As long as they are not ready, they will keep having their way.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on Joy News Prime. We're so grateful for your time. You're still watching Joy News Prime here. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and we're so grateful you're still with us. Let's move on to some other stories, where the Office of the Special Prosecutor is tonight alleging sponsored attacks on the work of the OSP. The work of the OSP has come under some level of criticism from anti-corruption campaigners and civil society organizations and the general public for failing to successfully prosecute a single corruption-related case since the establishment of the office 6 years ago. Speaking at the 14th Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies currently ongoing in Accra, Director of Strategy, Research and Communications at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Sammy Yeboah, says most of these criticisms are sponsored. He also alleges that some journalists are also bribed to unduly criticize the OSP. James Aveji has more in the following report.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor has come under public scrutiny over the period for its inability to successfully prosecute any suspect or any corruption-related case. Now, a good section of Ghanaians believe that with the level of financing and autonomy granted the OSP, he should have been doing more than just investigations. Addressing some of these concerns at the 14th Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Bodies here in Accra, the Director of Strategy, Research and Communications of the OSP, Sammy Yeboah, says that it is not the case that the OSP is not doing much, but some of these criticisms are actually sponsored to smear the office.
And then we also face what we call sponsored attacks and propaganda, where those who are very rich and powerful, when you are investigating them, they tend to be able to offer some monetary incentive to even journalists, and they will consistently be attacking you and spewing counter and false information against your outfit, all in a hope to create that impression that we are all the same, nobody is perfect. Why are you trying to prosecute somebody or investigate somebody as if you are a saint? But the idea is that those of us in the anti-corruption industry are not saints. We're just trying to go by the law.
He indicates that the omission of a certain acts from the setup of the OSP is hindering their work.
When the lawmaker was putting together the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, they took something very key out of it, which in implementing our law, we've discovered that it shouldn't have been done, which is what we call the unexplained wealth order. It was taken out of the OSP Act, and it's a very problematic matter for us because of the caliber of people we are to investigate. They are more complicated, they have more money, they have more people, they can get the best lawyers and all that. And this is a provision that would have helped us to do lifestyle audits in a better way. Currently, even we are doing a lifestyle audit, the onus lies on us throughout the entire investigation to show to the court how they committed the corruption. But if we have this, we are sure that when we're able to prove that your lawful income does not match your assets, then the burden shifts to you. We don't have that.
One key challenge the three investigative bodies, SHRAJ, IOCO and the OSP, have bemoaned is the lack of domestic collaboration between them to address issues brought before them effectively.
Or what some people call turf war. That is where maybe there is a particular issue that the two or more agencies have to collaborate. But one agency will think that if I cede my turf to another agency to collaborate or to take part, it is going to make me unpopular or is going to make the head of institution unpopular. There is always a rush or haste to take credit, unwarranted suspicion.
Director of Anti-Corruption at the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Stephen Asantilo, says there is the need for change of mindset among Ghanaians and leaders of anti-corruption agencies to help win the fight against corruption.
You can cheat officers left, right, center. You can put people in jail. If one can put all those who are sitting here in jail and bring a new set of people, we still have corruption. So we have started doing what we call changing mindset, and that we are trying to. That's why we want to start with the educational system. We're looking at starting from the young children who are in school, trying to change their mindset about looking at the whole aspect of life, so that we see how we can fight corruption.
Participants across the African sub-region who gathered here today have agreed that government need to get more committed towards the fight against corruption to win the continent of the canker. From the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel here in Accra, my name is James Savaji, reporting for Joy News.
And here in the studio here, my name is Carlos Kaloni. Now, the presiding judge in the case, minority leader, Dr. Kisela Tuforsen, has been tried for causing financial loss to the state, does not want the case to travel beyond the end of July. Now, the judge, Justice Ifeasewa Asare-Botwe, had earlier imposed a timeline of early May to deliver her judgment, but the deadline has been missed. In court today, the judge admonished the parties to deliver as expected of them to conclude the case before the next legal vacation. Legal Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante was in court and has come through with this report.
The High Court in Accra, presided over by Justice Ifeasewa Asare-Botwe, has said the trial of Dr. Kisela Tuforsen should not travel beyond the end of July. Earlier, the court had fixed May 3, 2024 for judgment, but that did not hold following some recent developments. Dr. Kisela Tuforsen, the current minority leader in Parliament, together with Richard Japa, a private businessman, are standing trial for allegedly causing financial loss to the Republic in an ambulance deal in the sum of 2.37 million euros. Dr. Sylvester Animana, the second accused, was earlier charged together with the two persons, has now been discharged by the Attorney General's office, which filed a nolle prosequi to discontinue the charges against him. In court today, the court's attention was drawn to the fact that the lawyer for the third accused person, Thaddeus Sori, had filed witness statements for his client, but both lawyers for the state and the minority leader were served on the morning of the case being called again in court. Dr. Kiselato and other accused persons are accused of willfully causing financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state through a contract to purchase 200 ambulances for the Ministry of Health. The case has now been adjourned to 9th May at 12 noon for the third accused person to continue his evidence in chief. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, High Court Complex here in Accra.
Still in the High Court, family of 11-year-old boy allegedly murdered by two teenagers for money rituals say they are disappointed the case was not concluded Tuesday. Now, the High Court was expected to determine the fate of the two teenagers accused of the murder, but the case has been adjourned to June 24 for closing address and the judges summing up before the jury will announce its verdict. Harrison Mensah is the spokesperson for the family.
Well, obviously, we were expecting that the case judgment would be delivered today, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. We are so much disappointed, especially the mother and the father, because it has been a very difficult moment for them, and it has had a very big toll on them, because they want judgment to be delivered so that everybody will have his or her peace of mind to go about their duty. It's been over 3 years now, and we were given the date only to be disappointed today that the case has been adjourned to 24th of June. We only pray and hope that nothing crops up on the 24th and that judgment will be delivered and everybody will have his or her peace of mind to go about his or her normal
Welcome back. It's time for Showbiz. And Becky Bex, you're here. You're looking good.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Let's talk about AY Poyo. You know AY Poyo?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
I don't. Seriously, I don't. Yeah. Tell me about who is it?
Well, he's a musician.
Oh, okay.
And now he doesn't carry the goat along with him when he goes for events or interviews.
Okay.
I think that he's rebranded and he's had a new EP that he titles The Rejected Stone EP. So my colleague Doreen Avio asked him, what is The Rejected Stone EP all about? And here is his explanation.
Yeah, because of my story, how I feel like they rejected me.
Oh,
you know?
But anyway, we didn't reject you as Ghanaians. So.
Yeah, sometimes I have a reason for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys feel like you didn't reject me, but to me, I feel like you rejected me. Imagine you are taking your kid to somewhere and you get to the middle of the sea. You left your kid there. Say, make you go because he has done something wrong or something. He might died in the sea. I struggled, and I was able to move out. When I go, like when I come out, I'll see you who are the person I'm going with. I'll see you to be like a bad person because you didn't think about me in the first place. I was a kid, so I think there are certain things that if I've done something wrong, like it's talking, AY, you see. But it happens, say, all the people I was working with, everybody, Jane, AY
for you right there. So, well, obviously we haven't rejected him. You're here on Joy News, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Prime Movie Box this evening, and the movie that we're not actually premiering. This is the movie that we're recommending to you. It's A Country Called Ghana by Wheezy Empire Entertainment, and it will be out this month on the 17th. This is coming out on the 17th of May. You should join Wheezy Empire at the National Theatre for the big premiere. But before we go, let's talk about the Met Gala that happened, affectionately referred to as fashion's biggest night out. The Met Gala 2024 is a fundraising benefits for the Metropolitan. All right, those were some highlights for you. But before we go, the Otumfuo had his 25th celebration.
Yeah.
I think he crowned it up last night at the Ashanti Kingdom.
Okay.
And there was a fantastic performance.
Oh.
Have you ever met the Otumfuo before?
Second?
Have you met the Otumfuo?
Once.
In person?
Yeah.
You shaked him?
Yeah, as a reporter, as a journalist.
Okay, did you get the chance to dance with him?
No, not at all.
Well, I'm giving you the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's okay. So the song and Amachide, they actually performed.
Oh.
So we're giving ourselves the opportunity to dance alongside the king of Ashanti. Go ahead.
Don't count who said, or don't yes, or don't put my name in this way. Don't tell we be.
You know that song?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's all. That's all.
Or don't yes, open an into me soon. I miss me, dear. You want to turn on me, you need son of me,
you know this is not even allowed on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. That'll be all for the news.
Yes, so
you didn't know that you were
much.
going to dance this evening, right?
Again?
You didn't know that you were going to.
No,
I
didn't.
You know how to dance, but you're just,
I didn't know I was going to
keep a
dance.
lot to yourself.
Yeah, sure.
It's not a big space.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand now.
Thank you so much for watching. You can log on to our Dome online. As you know, My Joy Online is down.
It's down.
You can go to our social media handles and get a lot more stories from there. My name is Carlos Kalani. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.